Agriculture is the science, art, and business of turning sunlight into happy, healthy people. I think that goes really well with flower farming as agriculture.
Flowers are, as I sometimes say, it's medicine for the soul.
I think that the flower movement is gaining momentum every single day, and that's a great thing. There is a really high demand for local flowers.
Hello, I'm Tom Murphy. Welcome to Land and Sea. Fresh-cut flower farms have sprung up across the Maritimes in recent years. They're supported by the buy local and farm-to-table culinary movements and the growth of community-supported agriculture. These farms are offering a variety of ways to enjoy flowers, with a focus on sustainability too. Despite challenges, many of these farms are finding ways to not only survive, but to blossom. Sisters Sophie Sharp and Ellen Falcons grew up on a dairy farm in Lower Millstream, New Brunswick. They're the 7th generation of their family to farm this land.
We have a different kind of connection to our farm because of the history and because of our ancestors and because of all the work that's been done on this farm to bring us where we are now.
Over the past 2 centuries, their family has raised foxes and grown various crops. Their parents still operate the dairy farm, but the sisters' focus is flowers.
So do you think the coral fountain would be a good one?
They saw an opportunity during COVID lockdowns.
And my mom suggested growing some extra flowers. I had grown a cut flower garden the summer before, and she thought maybe try to sell some of those flowers at the bottom of the driveway. There's a lot of roadside stands around. Why not try out flowers? So I thought, what a great idea. And people loved it. It was a self-serve stand, so you didn't really come in contact with anyone. And that's really when things took off, was when we realized, wow, people want local flowers, they want an experience, and they want somewhere to go in the beautiful summer months.
Now they grow 100 types of flowers. Since they're an hour's drive from the 3 major centers in New Brunswick, they connect with many customers through social media, offering a window into their work and sharing their growing process.
Thanks to those forms of technology, we're able to attract those customers and those clients from further away, which is really great. We host multiple flower U-picks on our farm, and they buy tickets online and they join us for 2 to 3 hours of flower picking. They want to bring a picnic and bring a friend and make it a date night even. So people are just so excited about getting out into the country and seeing where flowers come from, and where we live on a dairy farm as well, being able to experience where some of their food comes from. So it's a really great opportunity for us to expose people to that space and a place where they never have experienced before. You know, great sentimental feelings surrounding flowers. I know some people have a particular attachment to certain kind of flowers, and it's really special that we're able to grow those kinds of flowers that people feel so close to. For example, sweet peas. A lot of people's grandparents grow sweet peas, and they have such a sentimental connection to the smell, and that brings them back to their childhood. And it's just so special to us to be able to create and remind people of those memories they have.
As with any type of growing, the plants need to be nurtured. The sisters bag their blooms to protect the petals. They keep a close eye on each one.
When you have a damaged bloom like this one, for example, where it's missing petals, we can't sell this to a florist, we can't sell this to a customer. So what we're aiming for with these bags is basically perfection. And it is a bit time consuming, but it's a lot better than spraying, and we end up with perfect flowers. A few of our challenges that we have had are pests, of course. We have a real crow issue here with eating a lot of our seeds and damaging a lot of our crops. And things like slugs are a large issue. Luckily, we haven't run into any deer.
Growing flowers sounds idyllic, but ensuring gardens turn a profit isn't easy. It demands creativity. They've hosted wreath, bulb, and seed workshops in the spring and winter.
As a part of our business model, we're always looking for a way to generate some income that's not in flower season. So this is our 2nd year of growing pumpkins. We have about 2 acres of heirloom pumpkins, different colors and shapes and sizes. We're operating that as a U-pick, which we really enjoy having people here, and the agritourism part of our business.
Despite working on the land, it took a while for them to embrace their own roles in the agriculture industry.
I think there's some frustration in the flower farmer community because we're not recognized as farmers. Even for us, growing up on a dairy farm, we had a hard time calling ourselves farmers. We had our very first U-pick, and it was a group of lovely ladies, and it was our first experience having somebody here and somebody appreciating what we had done and what we had been growing. And I went up to the house to talk to my dad about it, and our dad, who is a dairy farmer and who, was supportive the whole time, but was a little bit questioning about us being farmers. We made eye contact and I gave him a thumbs up, and he was just so proud of us and what we had done and what we had created. Oh, I'm getting a little emotional because as somebody who grew up on a farm and who watched their father work every single day, and for us to do a different form of farming, but for him to be excited for us and happy with what we'd done was just really exciting.
A surge in interest in local flowers is inspiring some to think of gardening as more than a hobby.
And they come in so many different colors.
I know, so many colors.
Yeah, like this ivory, that bright red.
Across Canada, there are about 200 field-grown cut flower farms and thousands of greenhouses and nurseries, and the numbers keep rising, buoyed by the demand for local products. Caitlin Blackburn lives on Lutz Mountain near Moncton in New Brunswick. She worked for 7 years as an HR manager, but craved something different.
I wanted the opportunity to be home with my girls, to be able to carve my schedule the way that I wanted to.
She had always loved gardening and decided to devote more time and energy into it.
I was mid-cutting the flowers, and I thought to myself, why don't I grow flowers? Why don't I make this a business?
In the fall of 2024, her family moved to a larger property so she could expand her operation. Caitlin's flowers are now available at 4 stores in Moncton.
It's trial and error. It's practice. It's failing. It's learning as you go, making decisions on the fly. So it's challenging to be starting out a business and be the bookkeeper, the planner, the social media, the marketer, the, oh my gosh, what other hats do I wear? All the hats, you wear all the hats.
To make a go of it, Caitlin is looking for ways to help prolong the short growing season.
I've invested in a season extension technology, which is a hoop house, and because that's going so well for my business, I'm expanding this year. I'm putting up a second greenhouse, and that really will benefit my business and the ability for me to provide locally grown flowers to our community for a longer period of time. And it's just a really controlled environment. It shelters from the wind as well. That's really important. So the flowers love the controlled environment. The opportunity to show my girls that you can build a business and have ideas and, cultivate that, and with hard work and sticking to it, and you can make something really important and really big for yourself, your family, your community. And I love that.
Coming up on Land and Sea, how a farm in a province known for its potatoes is proving growing flowers can be big business. How's this for a garden? For size, no one beats Vanco Farms. About 40 hectares of flowers. This isn't the Netherlands, it's Prince Edward Island, and this farm has established itself as a big player in the tulip world.
We had to prove ourselves in the market. Nowadays when you walk around the Boston flower market, people talk about tulips and Vancos, and that's mission accomplished to me.
20 years ago, Vanco branched out from large-scale potato production. Bus Arends and his team started small and saw the potential.
We are really the only bulb producing company on the east coast of North America for sure.
Flowers from these bulbs aren't sold as bouquets. After the petals are stripped, the bulbs are sorted by hand. Depending on their size, they're either replanted or sold for others to grow. Millions of bulbs will end up in gardens across eastern Canada and the U.S. The varieties have Canadian names like Zamboni, Sugar Shack, and Snowbird.
The challenge of being here in Prince Edward Island and selling tulips in a Boston market or a Montreal market or even a Toronto market is we really just got to do a very good job, because we cannot compete at cost price. Like it's all about quality. We grow premium tulip here because of the climate. With all the sun that we have and the cooler climate in the spring, we were able to do that for like 5 months, and it earned us a place in the market.
The larger bulbs are planted again in the greenhouses to sell as cut flowers. Cultivating flowers in a province where winter often drags into spring isn't easy. But with their experience farming potatoes, Bas and his family realized that PEI's cold winters and warm summers were similar to the Netherlands and ideal for growing tulips. Vanco grows them in greenhouses from January through May.
We are really into sustainable farming. We try to rotate our crops as far apart as possible. We grow wheat in rotation with tulips and potatoes, and this wheat produces straw that we then bale and actually burn all winter long to heat our greenhouses and the farm.
It's a year-round production. During the peak season, more than 60 people work in the greenhouses. A dozen people drive trucks that distribute the bouquets, keeping them at the right temperature before they end up in supermarkets.
People see tulips different than they did 20 years ago. I think there's been a change in the mindset of the people. It's becoming part of their daily or weekly lives. Like it has to be there. There has to be a bunch of tulips on the kitchen table. For the supermarkets, tulips have become kind of like bananas. They need to have some cut tulips, and yeah, it's just been growing and becoming a part of the culture. I grew up in the Netherlands. In Europe, I feel like flowers have been more part of the everyday life than they were here 20 years ago when I got here. And I think it's an important part of everyday life. And so it's good to see it develop and these flower farmers grow and pop up everywhere and spread this joy that flowers can bring.
When we come back, how do smaller growers stand out when there are bouquets in every supermarket? Barb Jewell owns and operates Island Meadow Farms in York, PEI. It's one of the oldest flower farms in Atlantic Canada.
I've been actually selling flowers for about 26, 27 years. I've been doing it since it wasn't cool. I belong to an organization called the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers for over 20 years. And there was just over 300 members. There might have been 7 from Canada. And now there's thousands of members. It's a really big organization now.
She sells cut flowers locally and now works alongside her grandchildren.
We grow flowers from spring to fall, right through the season. We do some weddings throughout the summer, and we offer flowers at our farm stand where people can drive in anytime and pick up their flowers. We started the flower stand during COVID. We just put a little wagon out front of the barn during COVID, and it took off. Everybody loves it.
Barb often helps the newer flower farmers with advice and sometimes flowers.
Yeah, usually when it's all ripe and before it turns yellow, you can cut it and dry it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of thinking, well, I was thinking that, but I recently talked to the bride.
Oh, okay.
And I think I'm gonna stay with the quieter. With the quieter. Yeah. It's just...
Barb has weathered many challenging years, but climate change has made her work harder. She says seasons don't follow the same patterns as they used to, and these blooms are delicate.
There's certain flowers that we don't grow, I don't bother with anymore. It's just too hot for them. The intensity of the heat is unbelievable. And the fluctuation in the weather, in the rain, the temperatures, the drought, the heat, and all of those things are really crucial and really affecting how we grow things and what we're growing.
In 2022, post-tropical storm Fiona brought high winds that caused massive destruction on PEI.
Fiona, the day that happened, our greenhouse was totally destroyed and mangled. I basically had to start from scratch. My furnace, my electricity, my heat benches, my germinator, everything was destroyed, and it all had to be rebuilt again. And we had just put new poly on. The old one was on for 6 years. It had to be replaced. And just 10 days later, Fiona hit, and it was just totally gone.
Barb says flower farms can't always rely on the safeguards of government programs designed to help other types of agriculture when bad weather hits, and that puts a lot of pressure on a small business.
It's supposed to storm this weekend, maybe the hurricane. All of these could be just gone overnight, so I'm really risking a lot. There's a lot at risk here. I do a subscription bi-weekly, flower bouquets, and I have to make sure that I'm going to have a succession and have those flowers in place. Those flowers are sold, and I've already been paid for them, and I need to ensure that I'm going to have that product available.
Sarah McAlpine has carved out a niche in Nova Scotia. She and her husband Kenny have a flower farm called Two Birds, One Stone in Halls Harbour, a fishing community along the Bay of Fundy.
These are sort of pink and yellow with a little bit of white. You've got some cool texture.
Yeah.
And these are a little bit fuller and a little bit more like vibrant. So it really just kind of depends. Or you could just, okay.
We were living in Ontario, and it just was really feeling like a rat race, and things were crazy. We wanted to slow down. We wanted to get back to nature, and starting a flower farm may sound just extreme, but it worked really well for us. We wanted to work together, we wanted to work outside, and we wanted to live a more sustainable life. And the idea for growing flowers didn't come right away. Not being from here when we arrived, everybody that we talked to, a lot of farmers just thought we were absolutely crazy for starting a farm, let alone a cut flower farm on the North Mountain. We don't have waterfront property, but we can see the bay from our field. So the wind can be, pretty bad here sometimes, but it hasn't been a deal breaker. We just have found ways to support our flowers. The soil here is really good. It's a little bit cooler up here, and our perennials don't flower as early as they do in the valley, but the trade-off is we have them later and we have them for longer. It was frustrating starting this farm and trying to find our footing. I felt like at the beginning, some farmers didn't really think we were farmers, and florists didn't really think we were florists. I felt that there was a bit of a trial period where we really had to prove ourselves in the agricultural world and also in the floral design world.
At Two Birds, One Stone, they grow flowers from early April until October. They market their bouquets as local alternatives to imported blooms.
For many years, our marketplace has been flooded with cheap imported flowers, and people are beginning to wake up to the cost of that, not just an environmental cost, but also the social cost of that. If you buy local flowers, they are going to last way longer than the ones that you're getting at the grocery store. They've never been on a plane. They, were picked by someone who loved them so much in their fields. We grow all of our flowers organically. We don't spray anything of any kind.
8 years in, Sarah now feels rooted in the community. And business has grown. To make their mark, they do far more than bouquets.
We wanted to figure out what would work best for our community and what would work best for us. So the idea in those first couple years was to try a bunch of different revenue streams, go to the market, do weddings, and host workshops and have a subscription and do wholesale. We still do all of those things right now. The only thing that we've really scaled down on is wholesale. We found that my husband and I, we like being the face of our business. I really enjoy planning weddings and connecting with my clients and my customers face to face and, hearing their stories. And that's just a strength that brings us joy, and it's just worked really well.
Sarah hopes flower farms continue to flourish on the East Coast.
I think that the flower movement is gaining momentum every single day, and that's a great thing. There is a really high demand for local flowers. I think there's a lot of people who, at heart, want to quit their jobs and become flower farmers. And if I could inspire just one person to do that, I would be over the moon.
Flowers are really sentimental to me and to a lot of people. Gardening with grandparents and my mom and people you love growing up has created a really great sentimental feeling surrounding flowers. I know some people have a particular attachment to certain kind of flowers, and it's really special that we're able to grow those kinds of flowers that people feel so close to.
They're beautiful, and it's nice to be able to be a part of that and to be able to provide them to people and watch the joy that they have on their faces when they come and see them.